Welcome to Dance to Heal. I'm your host, Jenny C. Cohen. Join me as I share stories of how dance and movement can bring healing in a way that is safe and tailored to your life. I'm a cancer survivor, mother of two, and an award-winning performer who found that movement was vital to my recovery. I created Dance to Heal Wellness and also authored the best-selling book, Outside in Recovery, Dancing My Way Back to Myself After Breast Cancer. I will bring new techniques to help you on your dance journey and healing path. Are you ready to move? Dance to Heal starts now. I am so excited that you were here today, Sharon. Thank you for coming.
Oh, lovely to see you. Thank you for inviting me.
I love her accent, audience, just so you know. I could listen to this. I could listen to her voice like forever. I'm sorry to fetishize your voice. I don't care. Like, I just love, first of all, you're an amazing person, Sharon. And then your voice just is like the icing on the cake.
Oh, that's so funny because I think when you listen to yourself back, it's probably one of the worst things you're kind of critical about, thinking, oh my God, do I sound like that? Especially in England. There's so many different class systems with voice, and I've always felt, oh, it doesn't sound quite right, but thank you.
I think that this is an excellent way to start this conversation because the title of the master class that you would have called is Conversations from the Art or the Heart. Mm-hmm. Will you explain to us what that reference is to?
I think through the journey that a lot of artists take, particularly in my age bracket, I think a lot of us didn't really get sort of opened up into the art world, really. So you always had to find the proper job until you could actually do what you really wanted to do when you get to middle age. So the conversations from the art are really, obviously from the heart, but really about those areas in life where what got you to actually step into your light and just turn your passion into your purpose, really. So it's along those lines.
I love this. Turning your passion into your purpose. And here's the thing. Sharon looks very young, folks, for those of us tuning into the audio podcast. we're in the empty nester type of situation in life, right, Sharon? When you refer to that, because I'm not afraid to say my age. I'm 56 years young, and so for me now being in the globally known as the empty nester, even though my kids are still here, but they're graduated or almost about to graduate from college, and they don't need me as much. And now I have all this extra energy to put out into the world.
Yeah, same. I'm 54 years young. So yeah, same thing. I mean, by the time my son hit sort of 15, 16, I started to think, right, what am I going to do with myself? Do I really push myself into the art world and the things that I want to create and really, really go for it? So yeah, and you end up with a bit more time and space to think about what it is you actually want to do. So it's a great time of life.
It really is. It really is. And those of you listening in the audio, I really do recommend you go to Sharon's website because behind her right now are these exquisite paintings. I love looking at her face, and yet I'm also distracted by these beautiful visuals behind her. I'm like, what's that one? And that one was turned sideways. So where her studio is, you want to make sure you write this down. It's SHZ. She says Z. I thought it was ZED, but it's SHZ STUDIO art, ART.com, okay? SHZstudioart.com. Now, for those of us who love water, because for me, I love the beach. And so you're right up my alley in terms of when I have the money to collect art, I'm going to be like commissioning Sharon to do my beach scenes all over my house. If someone wants to buy art, what's the first step?
Really, I think to find out what it is, what they connect to. Mm-hmm. So it might not be the beach, it might not be the water, but my work tends to sort of, it spans around nature and light primarily. And I think if you want to bring that into your space, just start collecting images of things that you really love. And that's a really nice way for me to get into that person's head and start to understand what it is that they like. I mean, some people have an image of a place that they just love. It's got memories attached to it. People, it's about people, places, connections, and all those things. So sometimes they'll simply give me the image and I'll edit it slightly. We'll talk about size, and it's a really lovely process of getting to know them and stepping into their mind and then creating that onto the canvas. So some people, it happens very quickly. Some people want a little bit more direction. So
I love that. I love that. So really, it's connecting with your heart
Mhm.
to
Yeah,
find the art.
yes, definitely. I think art really has to have that emotional connection. I mean, if you walk into a gallery or, a gallery in your town, or if you go to a museum or something, it's those pieces that you turn the corner and they take your breath away. Something happens, the goosebumps come up on your body, and something in that energy just connects. And if you see a piece of art like that, I would really recommend, if you can afford it, you've got the budget, buy it, because that feeling, you're going to have that in your home. And every time you look at that, it's going to just keep giving you that ripple effect out of that feeling. So it's like anything that we buy, there's an emotional connection to all of it. We don't buy because it was painted in a certain way, or it's the emotional connection that people have with it. And the same with stories. It's what people have, really.
Oh, I love that. I love that. There definitely is an energetic connection through the eyes, because that's a frequency still that will send that message out
Definitely.
to us, right?
And I made the mistake when a few years ago, when I had a show or an art exhibition or something. I I was new and I didn't really know what to do. And so people would come up and they would start talking to me about the art. And I would blurt out why I did it, why I made it, what it meant to me. And they would be sort of standing there. And I'm thinking, oh, okay. And then they sort of disappear off. And I've learned that it's not about me and it's not about what I've painted. Some people want to know the process because they're genuinely interested in that, or they paint themselves. But what I learned from that experience is actually it's what it means to them, and to ask them questions. What does it remind them of? Does it take them to a certain place? So it's just, when you're new and you're trying to connect with people, you do probably, anyway, you do it all wrong, but there we go. You learn from it.
You're so cute. All right. So, audience, I have to give you a little caveat. Like, Sharon, you are so humble and yet you're so talented. And I just want to be really clear, right? That she speaks so humbly, audience, and yet Sharon is quite an accomplished author and painter and artist. Okay, so like I have a question for you. Would you ever teach any of us like an art class? Like, have you taught before how to do artwork?
Yeah, I've recently had some ladies come to me, and they've actually paint in my studio, and I've kept it very small at the moment because the space I have is limited right now. So the reason I'm doing it is because at some point soon I'm going to do some beginner classes for people that want to just connect into that vibe, let go of the outside world just for an hour or two and just get into it and see what comes out. But the interesting transition for me, and this is the bit that I love, is watching somebody come in saying, "Oh, I haven't painted for years. I don't really know what I'm doing." Da, 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 da. So what I do is I get them to get rid of all of that. And so we start out simply. And the way I find that really works for people is to just say, nobody's going to see this unless you want them to. This is just a practice. This is just going to get you in the flow and
Mhm.
get to the next piece. It doesn't matter what it looks like. Take your time, have fun with it. forget about the outcome. And these are things that I've learned through reading books and all sorts of things. It's don't focus on the outcome. It's about the moment. Are you enjoying it? Try and get back into being that 8-year-old child where you sat there and had, you know, you didn't really have a care in the world for most of us. And you just created for the mere fact of creating.
Oh, I'm getting chills. Folks, I mean, you're hearing it from someone who also learned to play in the moment through art. Really, there's when you're playing normally with kids, very few of us are usually. Well, I never really played as a child, but in my observations of children playing, especially with my kids, when I was setting up play setups for them, there's never a winner and a loser. It's the process of that moment of being present, right? Like, okay, so Sharon, I have my hand up, folks, in my audio audience. I'm like, okay, so True Confessions from Jenny, okay? Like, I've bought countless online lessons on painting because I love the aspect of someone being able to create images from their mind, whether it's abstract or kind of true to life pictures like you do of the water. I mean, I love beaches. To even because some of mine are like one of them is by this really amazing person, and she just teaches us about colors and patterns and relations of objects for abstract art things, and they're little pocket journals where she does it in like 15 minutes, and Jenny's over here, it's an hour into it. I'm trying to copy the exact shape on my little journal, 5 by 5 inch, square, and she's like, "Da-da-da-da-da," and I'm like, okay, well, how does she splatter that? I gotta replicate the color of it, and it's not exactly the same. So I have found though, in that endeavor, I'm very present. It's such a
Yeah.
relief to put down everything in my life just to work on this cute little painting. Now, if people have been on my Instagram, Jenny C. Cohen, you'll see, well, I'll do time lapses of my little abstract art. And then here, the sip-in art things where you do the wine and people tell you, draw a line, and everyone draws a line on their canvas.
Yeah.
So we can pretend we bring home our little, like, paint by numbers type of painting.
Yeah.
Would you ever in the future be open to doing a class online for us to be exposed to your theory in the way you would lead a class?
Yeah, and I see a lot of the classes where, there is everybody's doing the same thing, and I think we all copy at some, that most things have been done, so we're all copying something, we're all copying a style. But when you start to make it your own and you use your own brushes and you get your own marks, no, it's like your signature. Nobody can actually really copy that. Not truly. I mean, obviously, I could be. There's some people that are very clever that can do that with master's paintings, but in general, what I'm talking about is you have your own style. So it's nice. Even when I painted in a class years and years ago, we'd all have the same subject, but we would have our own take on it, and everybody's piece was completely different. So for me, I think that's a nicer way. But again, I can see where some people don't have the confidence to just do that, and they want to copy step by step by step. So I think it's a bit of a mixture of both, and maybe I need to come at it from my angle, which is actually just go with the flow of what you feel and what you see, because I think that connects people more to it and they feel happier while they're doing it, rather than in the situations also I've been in where I've tried to copy exactly how the teacher or instructor is doing it, and I'm just not getting it, or I'm frustrated. And so then I think, well, what's the point? I'm not doing that for me. I mean, but it really is about letting go, I think. So yes, something will be coming.
Yes, yes, yes. You've heard it here. We have to hold her to it now, audience. Okay, I'm going to be the first person to sign up for your class. So here's the thing: when you're doing your more realistic paintings versus more abstract, are you painting from pictures now, or more from a picture in your head?
Bit of both. A lot of my skies come from my head because especially if I'm painting a scene in the UK, because along the skies can be quite grey. So I like to vibe it up slightly. But what I do is I studied photography when I was a lot younger, and so I understand the editing process. So on a very mild scale, but so what I do, I'll collect loads of reference images and I'll put those together. And when I come back to my studio, I'll edit the ones I really connect with. I like the composition, I'll crop it slightly. And then I'll even change up the colours in that just to give it a different feeling. And that's how I'd start a lot of my pieces. So they've come from a reference image generally that I've taken. I mean, it's different when it's a commission because it's somebody else's, but yes, I will always start editing it up and just changing, tweaking it, making some bits clearer, pushing some bits away, and just bringing it, because again, like I said, it's about the light, it's about the reflection, it's about, especially with water, and it's those optical effects of light that make such a difference. I mean, I'm very inspired by the Impressionist movement. So, you know, when you see one of those paintings up close, you can't make it out. You have to stand back, and then you go, oh wow, it's almost like it's moving, and it's incredible. So it's, yeah, there's a lot of inspiration for me that comes from those kind of paintings. But yeah, interesting stuff to go and see. So it's always good to keep an open mind and keep going to art galleries.
Well, listen, folks, what you want to do is actually go to Sharon's art gallery, okay? So in this description for this episode, we've put her gift to us. Folks, I'm drooling over the princess she's gifting us. All you have to do is go to that link that's in the description, and you can choose 3 different types of princess, one called Awaken, one called Heal, one called Renewal, and talk about getting lost in your art. Sharon, I know you're uncomfortable that I'm paying you compliments. Just say thank you. So folks, like, really, all you have to do, like, she's gifting us these free prints, and all we have to pay is for the shipping and handling from the UK, and then that means she touched it. Okay, so then you can, like, actually be a part of her energy. You want to do this, folks, because I didn't realize before today's call I know you told us the story at the beginning, Sharon, how if you talk too much about the process, it might dissuade the person or kind of confuse them and they don't buy. Folks, I'm more in love with this art now, having understood Sharon's thought, than before. Like, I looked at it and went, wow, that's really pretty. And now I'm completely in love with it. So I really do want you, audience, to really savor this process of getting to know the artist. Now, we're both in a book compilation. Which books are you in, Sharon? Are you in all 3 of the Creative Life books?
No, I'm in 2 and 3. So I'm in Radical Self-Love and Radical Freedom.
Okay.
And did you find with both of those books how healing that was to write those chapters?
Okay, so folks, if you don't know Jess Hughes, who we know each other from, you got to make sure you look up Jessica, okay? I was in Creative Life Book 1. And in that book, I just wrote more about, at that time, my focus on breast cancer survivorship and the ways that I use dance to recover, okay? Radical Self-Love, the second book, was that Radical Self-Love?
Yes.
Both my kids are in there, Sharon. Both my adult kids. Yeah, Ariella and Daniel are in there, and they wrote about very different things that was very healing for them. Okay, and the fact that they're now published #1 international authors like yourself through that book is just incredible. And then with you and I in the third book, yes, I wrote about something that was very healing, because for me it had to do with something that in the past it would have been something I was ashamed of. And I blasted it out to the world to give myself freedom from that. And so I talk about it all the time now. What about you? How did you find about that process for that third book for yourself?
The third book was going back to the second book that I did.
Yes.
So the title, I mean, obviously my surname's Goodenough, so I thought, well, I'm going to have to play on that one. So the chapter, it's largely about the imposter syndrome that holds us back from doing the things that we really want to do. And I used to look at my artwork. I was going through really terrible menopause, but I didn't actually know what was going on. So I was painting, showing it to close friends, and they were saying, you need to exhibit, you need to show your work, you could get commissions. And I kept umming and ahhing thinking, oh, it's not good enough, not good enough. And with my name, so the chapter is, are we good enough? And I talk about where I started when I was younger. I actually had a whole weekend event on Anthony Robbins. So we went on staff and I did the fire walk and all those things. So it really was quite life-changing. And I was only about 22, 23. So it talks about then the bit that really helped me heal was I managed to put what it was at that point. My parents had gone through a horrible divorce, and it was only when I wrote the chapter for the book that it dawned on me what I was going through, and I was grieving the loss of my family unit. And it was only sort of all these years later that it actually made sense. So I think the writing has really been a huge part for me. And I've got, as we say, we thank Jess for all of those things, for pushing us to actually allow those stories to surface and write about them and look at them, and how, how resilient we are as a result of these things that have happened. So then in the second book, it really was about doing the things that I really want to say yes to and having the boundaries. So it's largely about people pleasing. And that came about because really when I looked at where on earth did that come from? And it's always a great thing to go back to your childhood and think, so what started that? Because, children are generally happy-go-lucky, that kind of vibe. And I thought, what happened? What changed? And it was when I got to about 11 or 12, I went to a school I disconnected from. I didn't feel happy there at all. And my parents' relationship started to become difficult. And I sensed it. Being a sensitive kid, I sensed everything, but I didn't know what it was. But I just felt odd. And also at that age, you're becoming more and more aware of your surroundings. So I became, my dad lost his job, lost his driving license, all these things started to happen. My parents' relationship crumbled and then they separated. My brother left. So I was with my dad, who was quite a heavy drinker. And I'd adapted this people-pleasing behavior to avoid conflict. Not that my dad was like it with me, I just wanted to keep harmony around my environment. So my way of doing it was people-pleasing. And so I did it continually, sort of outside the home, and I didn't realize that's what it was. And again, writing the book just makes you go, oh my God, that's where it came from. So what I discovered was just going back to the essence of who you were, and that as a child can really have all the clues to where you could be now, and some, indicate what things bring you joy, what lights you up. So I find that fascinating. So I love writing the books.
I love this. Thank you for sharing that really important story for people to hear. Now, folks, here's the thing. The fact that Sharon was open enough to talk about the writing as part of her healing, because it helped her process things that she wasn't even aware was still playing a role presently in her life. That's something that we all need to do. I mean, certainly I can say this, even though I joke about it with the name, right? The panini, the lockdown affected all of us. The world needs healing on so many levels besides writing and using your voice and speaking. My current thing is that I want everyone to be humming or singing or speaking in some way, because you're exercising where there's a lot of trauma stuck in the throat. And you do writing, which is another way of expressing. You do painting and play, which is another way for us to kind of process the stuff that's not been processed yet. We came from the generation, right, where it's kind of like, hey, listen, What are you crying about that for? I'll give you something to cry about. Like, why are you crying about that? Like, you should already get over it. And the problem with that type of thing is some people really do need, when we're children, that opportunity to process it with a safe adult. And sometimes the adults aren't equipped to help us with that. So when you're an adult, you can process that. And here's the thing, folks. So I want to make sure you understand, if you go to Sharon's website, which is SHZ Studio, STUDIO, ART.com. At the very top of her website, you have access to that free gift I was talking about. You just look at her paintings and I promise it will heal you, okay? This is called the Ebb and Flow collection. And when you get your print and you just stare at it, I already know which ones I'm going to get my gift of and then which one I'm going to buy. I'm telling you guys. Sometimes we need to visually have that stimulation to give yourself permission to feel safe. And I will tell you, Sharon, your artwork helps us feel safe. Is there anything else you would like to give us perspective on before I have to end our time together today? Is there any one thing that you feel we need to be aware of or do in this conversation from the heart?
Well, interestingly, this week has been, we talk about being present, going into the position of play, going back to all of that. I put myself under an enormous amount of pressure this week because I have decided to learn to ride a motorbike. So you have to adopt all these things to the mindset, and you really realize how much mindset plays in everything. It is 80% of what you do. So I passed the first motorcycle test, which you have to take, which was like quite a basic one, but having never ridden a motorbike with an engine before, I was quite rigid and I was scared, and the nerves were coming in, and will I be able to do it? We did it. I did it with my husband. And then since then, we've gone on to a bigger engine bike. So it's a 650 engine. And the reason behind all of this is we bought a Triumph Bonneville, a limited edition Elvis Presley one, because I'm a huge Elvis fan. So we were under pressure we've got this bike now, so we need to learn how to ride it. I mean, most people don't do it that way round. Anyway, we did. So the interesting bit was this week we were practicing. I've got this big engine. It's been raining all week, so the floor in my mind is extra slidey, and I'm on two wheels, and I'm thinking, what am I doing? I'm 54 years old. Why am I doing this now? And then I had not a great experience that afternoon. It was all safe. I was in control, but I wasn't enjoying it. I went home that night, and I had an exhibition at the gallery that I'm at, and I met somebody there who'd also done their motorbike test recently. And he said, "Oh, I didn't worry about, I didn't pass first time. So I've got my test next week." He said, "I didn't pass first time, but I passed on the second." Oh, of course. If I don't pass this first time, it doesn't matter. So I went back the following day, completely different mindset. Actually, the sun was out, which made a difference. Completely different mindset. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Turned about 5 corners, not just on the bike, but mentally in the whole. I just up-leveled the whole thing, and the whole energy, the whole vibration around that learning experience was just have fun. This is meant to be a fun exercise. You're going back to connect back with being a child, enjoy it, do what you do when you talk to people about art, do it to yourself with this motorbike. So there we go. That's the lesson I've learned this week. So hopefully that helps other people.
I love this story. I'm so glad you brought up the motorcycle, because that was what I was going to end on, motorcycle adventures, and you brought it up. We're in sync, folks. We're going to have Sharon back, okay? Sharon, you have to come back. And, and remember to get and access her free gift on her website. All those links are below in the description. Sharon, thank you so much for coming and logging in with us all the way from England. Folks, we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to Dance to Heal with Jenny C. Cohen. Come back next time to hear stories of recovery through movement and learn more ways that you can move your body. To work with me and continue your journey, visit OutsideInRecovery.com. Are you ready to move?